The car repossession boom. Cars are being repoed at record numbers right now, and people have paid so much money that they have negative equity, and trading them in is creating more and more debt. And we are in this boom where cars have gotten so expensive that so many of them are getting repossessed. I'm going to share with you what's going on and how you can profit from it. Let's go.
Noel. Yeah, she can fix that. You gotta get it done, no, you need to do it better. Well, she can fix that. Yeah, she can fix that. Investment to get back, trying to get a big stack. She can fix that. Let's fix that.
So let's get right into this. Many of the concepts that I'm going to tell you on how to get out of this repossession boom can be found in my book, Turo Millionaire Secrets. You can get this book for free at freeturobook.com. All right, let's get into this. So let's get right into it. Like I said, repossessions are at an all-time high. And in fact, I have even had a car repossessed. I'll talk about that to you in just a second. But now we are seeing where people are buying cars, and there's some real things that have happened in our economy that has caused this. But there's also an opportunity that I'm going to explain. But I have to explain all of what's going on in case you are involved in any of this. You might be able to get yourself out of this situation. So the car repossession boom really started in 2020. When we had COVID, that was when it really got out of hand. Because we were all locked in our homes, more people started to buy cars. The supply chain was down because people, weren't working and they weren't building cars. So because the supply was down and demand was up because people were in their homes, stimulus checks were going out. They had less things to do and spend their money on because we're trapped in the house. Now we're not going out. We're not going to amusement parks. We're not spending money on gas. So people actually started to buy more cars and pay more for cars right after COVID and during the 2020s. And now we have gotten to a situation where it is now starting to be a bubble and repossessions have really gotten out of hand. This is why. So let's start with car financing. Car dealerships are really just car financing places. Literally, when you walk into a dealership, most of their profits are made through the financing of cars. And 80% of all cars on the road were financed, or should I say all cars that were sold at car dealerships are financed. Basically, only 20% of people actually come in and buy a car for cash, especially a brand new car or a newer used car. They are very expensive and most people finance them. So we had a situation where people are now financing mostly cars. Everybody pretty much finances their cars. Interest rates, because people have really poor credit scores, nationally speaking, they're paying higher interest rates for their cars. So it's creating a situation where they paid a lot, but at the same time, the interest was high. So they have a lot of negative equity, meaning they owe more on the car than it's worth. A lot of people are finding themselves in this situation. Additionally, because car dealerships make so much money financing cars, they are truly incentivized to do this. Now, let me tell you something real quick. Noel Randall used to actually sell cars when I was in college. Before I dropped out, I went to college for 3 years. I sold cars. I sold Hondas at this place called Liberty Honda, and I also sold cars at this place called Manchester Honda. This was in Connecticut while I was going to college. I sold cars full time. So I really understood the car game. And at the time, of course, mostly cars were still financed. Even in the 2000s, in the early 2000s, cars were still mostly financed. However, car dealerships can make a lot of money hiding from consumers what they are able to do. So because they make so much money financing cars, because they are incentivized to finance cars. So as a car dealership, they will take an application from you and then they will send it off to lots of different banks. Okay. They'll send it off to, so if it's a Honda dealership, for example, or a Chevrolet dealership, they will send it off to like Honda Finance, or if it's a GMAC Financial, if it's a Lexus, they have their own financing companies for their new and used cars. However, that interest rate that they get, they can add something to it, and that is profit for the dealer. So if, for example, you have a good credit score and the bank approves you at a 4% interest rate, they can charge you up to 8%. They can add up to 4 points to that interest rate. That's what it was when I sold cars. It could be even more now. Okay. And so that's a way that they make money. Those are premium points that the dealership charges the consumer on top of the buy rate from the lender, where they get extra money for that. Plus, for every application that is approved and car they sell, they get a kickback, a commission, a flat rate too. So they not only get the amount, they also get the amount that I said from the extra of the interest rate they charge. They also get a flat amount, like for every one, $1,000, $500, whatever it is. Okay. And so we have a situation where they will finance more than what the car is worth, because so many people trade in cars with negative equity. They actually will finance 120% of what the car is worth. And of course, there is a higher interest rate depending on that. Okay. So car dealerships are highly incentivized to charge you even more for the car in the interest rate. And they are incentivized to make sure that you finance the car and not use your credit union and not come in with cash and different things like that. They truly make most of their money through the financing. And they make even a lot more money if you buy a new car, like a new Honda, and you finance it through Honda Financial, for example, because they have even more leeway to do that. However, that is one of the highest delinquencies in the car business. You actually financing the car through the dealership's own financing. Okay. They actually have lower delinquencies when you go through a third party like Ally or Wells Fargo or Chase Auto. They actually have a lower delinquency than, for example, Ford has by financing cars through Ford Financial. Ford Financial will have way more delinquencies on Fords with Ford Financial than they would with Ally Auto, for example. And that is because they need to move as many cars as possible. So the lender, their own lender, is going to be more lenient. They will approve people that probably shouldn't get approved. They are going to approve you with lower credit scores. They're going to approve you with even more negative equity. They can play with the numbers in even worse ways and get even more creative with the financing to put you into that vehicle, because they want to not only move that vehicle, they want to make all of that money on the financing. And truly, that is how dealerships make their money. So now let's get back to car prices being so high. Like I said, during the COVID, we had a lower supply. Okay. People weren't working, but demand was up because there were so many people that had more money and weren't doing as many things. So they would pay more for their cars and their car note. So then we started seeing more car loans that were stretched out for even longer periods of times. It used to be that car notes used to be for 4 years and 3 years, and those are still offered, but the majority of people finance their car for 5 years, 6 years, and even longer. Now we even now have financing where they will finance a car for 144 months. That is 12 years. Now, I've never financed a car for 12 years, nor do I think that one should. However, when car prices are really high, the only way to get the car note to be affordable is to stretch out the term of the auto loan. So that is why most people do the 5, the 6, the 7 year car loans, because they need to be able to afford the payments because car prices are so high. You get that. But now we have a situation where you're making your car note payments, but it's not paying down enough of the interest. And then cars in itself are what? They are depreciating assets, meaning as soon as you drive that car off the lot, you have lost money. It is going down in value over time. That's what depreciating means. That's what depreciation is. Cars are not an appreciating assets where they go up in value over time, like real estate, which is one of the reasons why I caution you with getting so involved in cars, especially if you are not going to monetize them. I'll talk about how you can in just a second, and how all of these repossessions could be an opportunity for you to monetize your car and other cars. However, we now have a situation though where repossessing cars is a booming business. Let me tell you that part. We now have a situation where there has been companies and tech companies that have created a whole repossession boom as well. They actually have these cars that go around and they just take the license plates of cars and they collaborate and coordinate that data and put GPSs so that cars are always seen at this area. That makes them easier to repossess. Now, we also know that cars come with hidden GPSs in the cars. So all of these financing companies make it easier and easier to find your car when you get delinquent on your payment. It is very, very hard to hide a car nowadays because they have multiple GPSs inside of that car that you cannot get rid of and you do not know where they are. And with the advent of this new technology of these cars going around and just snapping pictures of license plates and collating that data so that we know where cars are, it has created a whole repossession economy and a gig economy where the demand for repo men and I'll call them repo men. Women can repo cars too, but it is a male dominated thing with the repo trucks. They can actually repossess cars at a higher number and more of them are needed. So it has created a gig economy where you can take on a gig to go repossess cars. Okay. And more people are monetizing their tow trucks and getting into that business because there are so many repossessions. And now there's even more data available to easily find those cars and tow them away. Now let's add to this Electric vehicles. Electric vehicles have been depreciating at a number that you would not even imagine. Okay, here is an article that talks about how poorly EVs do in keeping their value. And that is because the demand for them has really dropped down. A lot of the politics around it has been very negative. And so EVs were very expensive, but more people are opting for the hybrid that you can plug in or that you can use gasoline in, and not just the straight EVs. So they have lost so much money, and we have just too many of them. So they are not holding their value very well. So add all of these things together. Supply issues during COVID, higher prices because there were less supply, demand being very high because people were in the homes and had stimulus checks. So more cars were purchased and less cars are being traded in because people bought the cars. They realized that cars are getting even more and more expensive. So people are holding on to cars, which made the used car market even more competitive, and used cars were even more expensive. So in order to make cars more affordable, they introduced laxer auto loans, with lower credit scores and higher interest rates, of course, because the lower your credit score, the higher the interest rate you're going to pay. People not trading in cars leads to, of course, less supply and the same amount of demand. So now cars that you do have are worth more. So you just hold on to your car. But most people could not even trade their cars in. Why? Because they have negative equity. So this is what caused this whole repossession boom. We have a lot of people that have negative equity in their car. They cannot even trade it in. Most cars are actually traded in when you buy another car. Statistically speaking, most people don't put down a down payment. They actually trade in the car that they have and use any of the equity that they have to buy the next car. Well, in many cases, 1 in 4 cars are traded in with negative equity. So now we have a situation where people are willingly letting their cars get repossessed because they don't have any equity in them anyway, and car notes are really, really high. So when we have a volatile economy with people losing their jobs or not making very much money, they either do their best to hold onto the car or they just let it get repossessed. There's no point in trading it in because it has almost no equity, and trying to roll over that amount of negative equity into a new loan is not sustainable. So now we have this repossession boom where people are getting repossessed like crazy. But Noelle Randall went through a car repossession in the 2008s. Like I said, when I lost everything at the end of 2008 and I filed bankruptcy at the end of 2008, I literally had a car repossessed. Let me explain what you can do now if that is the situation that you may find yourself in. So in 2008, when I lost my job and everything was falling apart, the market was crashing, I ended up having to file bankruptcy, and I included the car that I was driving. One of the cars, we had 2 cars at the time. One of them we just let get repossessed. Okay. And they literally just came and got it because we included in the bankruptcy. So if you include your car in a bankruptcy, that is considered a repossession. Okay. So I just left the keys in the driveway to the car and they came and got it. And I'm going to be very honest with you. That was one of the best decisions I ever made, filing bankruptcy. It pushed me to be a better person because I had to go to my parents' basement. I had to start over again. You can rebound from a repossession, but in today's economy, you actually have a way to profit off of other people being repossessed. Let me explain. So in my book, Turo Millionaire Secrets, I actually would have been able to monetize cars, and I've taught tons of people how to create a fleet of cars that they rent out. Turo can be a very, very profitable business. And of course, you can get this book for free at freetorobook.com. However, you need more than one car. You can't really do a business with just one car. Just like with rental properties, I always say having one rental property is a headache. Having 7 or 8 is a business. The same thing goes with cars. If you have just one Turo car and the one car that you rent out on Turo to make money, you don't have much of a business. But if you had a fleet of cars, 8, 10, 12 cars, you can become a millionaire renting out cars. Additionally, buying cars at a discount, like cars that have been repossessed, is going to be a very profitable thing for you because you can start picking up cars for pennies on the dollars, the same way that I do with real estate. So that distress of people being behind on their car notes could be an opportunity for you to pick up cars at a discount and put the cars, if you need to put them in your name, you can finance them in your business's name. Literally, you can create a business and start getting business credit and business funding in your business's name and create this entire business. And of course, when somebody is having issues, you can make a lot of money off of that. So because we are having so many repossessions, that can be a great opportunity for you to actually get rich and create an entire business around repossessed cars. I am always going to be an advocate of you being positive and turning losses into positives. If the whole world is losing their cars and you are in a situation where you can actually profit off of that, that's what you should do. If you are in a situation where your car is getting repossessed, you might need to file bankruptcy and start all over and start building business credit to create an entire business. You can make a lot of money off of assets, and cars can truly be an asset if you didn't just buy the car to drive around and to flex with. If you bought the car and you are willing to use it to make money, if you're able to rent the car out, if you're able to start an Uber business, a Lyft business, there are tons of businesses that you can use vehicles for and make a lot of money. Delivery businesses, I really could go on and on. And the opportunity to get repossessed cars or cars at a discount is going to be an amazing opportunity for you. Don't get caught in the repossession boom. Like, start figuring out a way where you can make money with it, because you absolutely can. One more thing. I strongly suggest you getting this book absolutely free. You can get my book, Turo Millionaire Secrets, for free at freetorobook.com. This book is absolutely free. You just cover the shipping, where I break down how I was able to use business credit and business funding to create multi-million-dollar businesses with cars, and how so many others has as well. You truly can make a lot of money renting out cars. You can have exotic cars, you can have low-end cars, you can use minivans and Toyota Corollas. You literally can have any type of rental car business that you want, and the repossession boom will create an opportunity for you, because people will still need vehicles. So get this book absolutely free at freetorobook.com. Learn all of the secrets on how you can get cars, how you can make this into a business, how you could even quit your job and just run a rental car business with cars that you found at a discount, picking up cars at auctions, picking up cars that have been repossessed, picking up cars where people let you take over their car notes. There are many people that, instead of their car getting repossessed, you could be the conduit to help them, where you take over those car notes and you take those cars and you learn how to monetize and make money off of those cars. You can do this. This is an amazing opportunity that only a small few are really going to take advantage of, but there are going to be so many millionaires created through this opportunity. Go to freetorobook.com. Get this book. It's absolutely free. Learn how you could start your own rental car business and how you could even go from side hustle to full-time business in just a few months. I want to make sure that you have all of the knowledge, all of the tools, and all of the resources that you need to be successful. This is Noelle Randall. To your success. Hey, thank you for staying to the end. Please go ahead and subscribe to this channel. Since you stayed to the end, you must love me. I love you too. So go ahead and subscribe.